Hello, my name is Sean Jones and I work with Cary Counseling Center, and I want to welcome you to the first in a series of videos that we're going to do for public education. Tennessee is a beautiful state and it is great to live here. One issue that we do have with all of this beautiful country is severe storms and tornadoes, and those come too frequently for all of us. One of the things that we want to spend today doing is discussing how we manage the anxiety related to storms. And the first thing I'm going to start off with is very simple, and you may think it's too simple, but it's normal to be scared. Storms are very unpredictable. Anytime we have something that we cannot control, it creates anxiety. One of the first ways to manage that anxiety is to be informed. And people often have many questions about how to be informed. And for me, it's very simple. Watch your local weather. They do an excellent job of tracking the storms. They let you know when it goes from a warning to a watch and backwards because it's in flux, and it happens frequently that it changes very rapidly. So that's the first thing I would say is watch your weather, stay informed, and that helps relieve some of the anxiety. The other thing that helps you is planning ahead. And we are going to talk more about planning ahead in our third video. There will be 3 videos. Today, what we are going to focus on is managing the anxiety that we feel when a storm or a possible tornado has been predicted. And I want to talk to parents or those people who are helping their family members, and I want to give you some things that can help you manage that as we work through this. The first thing, and the most important, because it impacts all the rest of the things we're going to talk about, is you have to stay calm. And one of the things about staying calm is you have to be very self-aware. If storms make you anxious, be aware of that. Know that they make you anxious and do your best to manage your anxiety first, because you are going to model for your children how you want them to handle being in the storm and how you want them to handle that anxiety that they are going to be suffering from. And remember, we've already talked about it, it's typical and to be expected to feel that anxiety, especially if you're a younger child and you've never been through that many storms before. Or if you've been through a severe storm, there's going to be much more anxiety. So we, as the leader of the family or the ones that they're looking to, have to be calm, and we have to be very supportive of them. One of the best things that you can do in terms of being calm and supportive is just be very matter of fact. Just say, you know what, yes, they predicted a severe storm and it's not here. It's very possible that it won't come. They're telling us there's a good chance it will come. Don't try to sugarcoat it. Don't try to hide it. Also, don't make it bigger than it is. Just tell the facts the way they are. The other thing that I'm going to say is, because earlier I said watch the news, watch the local weather station. At the same time, you want to limit the storm information that children receive. If they're watching it over and over and over, all that's going to do is impact their anxiety in a very negative way. It's going to make it much larger than it is. So let them watch it and then send them in the other room and find them something to do to distract themselves. Give them something to play. Give anything that can occupy their mind while you are keeping track of the storm so that you know what to do for your family. Okay, so that's part of that be informed process, but it's also limiting how much they are involved in that. The other thing that I encourage you to do is talk it out. One of the things you need to understand is young children especially don't have the same ability to think through things and come to a logical conclusion like we do as adults. So they need to talk it out. They need to be able to say what is on their mind. And sometimes even younger children like to play it out. Let them draw. Are you scared right now? Yes, I'm terrified, Dad. Okay, well then here, draw me a picture of what you're feeling. Draw me a picture of what you're scared of. And what that really does is it helps them get that anxiety out, and it gets rid of some of that anxiety. You know, I talked earlier about planning ahead. One of the other things that you can do to help your children learn to manage anxiety in a storm is to talk about it during good weather. Talk about it when there's not something to be worried about, something to be afraid of. And talk about it in very real terms. This is how we plan ahead. This is how I'm going to keep you safe. These are the steps that we're going to take when a storm comes. And the more they understand that, then hopefully the less anxiety that they have. The other thing that I want to talk about also is storms come frequently. And we do a great job, typically as parents, of talking about it ahead of time, helping them through the storm, and then as soon as it's gone, we're done. Well, I'm going to encourage you to take one more step. After the storm is gone, after you have successfully navigated the storm, and your house is fine, and the kids are fine, and you're fine, then sit down with your child and tell them what a great job they did working through their anxiety. We call that debriefing. And essentially what you are doing is you are teaching them that they just managed their anxiety. And you're showing them that they just had a success. And the more you can show that to them, the more they can see that, yes, I can manage my anxiety. Yes, I can deal with the storm. Then the next time one comes up, they're going to be less anxious than they were the time before. But we have to be very purposeful in that. We have to take the time to sit down with our children and help them understand they had a success. Okay? And even if they kind of freaked out a little bit and lost it for just a few moments, but you were able to talk it out with them and you were able to bring them back down, that's still a success. Because believe me, when the storms hit, we all have the potential to kind of accidentally let go and have difficulty with our anxiety, even if it's just for a few minutes. There are a few other things I want to talk about, not just for them, but also for you. One of the things is finding a way to distract yourself. If all you're doing is listening to the weather and you're focused on the storm the entire time before it ever gets here, when it does get here, your anxiety is just going to be so elevated, you're going to have great difficulty managing that. So find something to distract you. Listen to music. Read a book if you like to read. Play a game with your children. Do something that occupies your mind so that it's not just focused on the storm and the anxiety that's related to that. There are other very simple things that you can do. One of the things we talk about with lots of different kinds of problems is deep breathing exercises. And what we're going to do is we're going to have some printed materials available to you to talk about deep breathing and how to do that appropriately and how to manage that. Because if you do deep breathing the right way, it has been proven to greatly reduce your anxiety for a period of up to 30 to 40 minutes. And that can be a game changer. If that one very simple technique, if you do it right, can be very, very helpful. The other thing that you can do is follow your routine as much as possible. When we have these kinds of things coming up, storms are projected. We think they're going to be here. We tend to change our routine. Don't change it unless you have to. And when I say don't change your routine, I'm also saying keep your children in their routine as much as possible. One of the things you do have to remember, and I'm sure you are very aware of, is that if schools think that storms are going to hit their area, they will let school out early. They watch the weather just like the rest of us, and they take great steps to keep your children safe. And I say that to say this. I wouldn't rush out and take my children out of school unless they're going home on the bus by themselves. Then I would absolutely go get them so I could keep them safe. Otherwise, trust your school system to do what is right to keep your children safe. I have even seen school systems keep children and not run the buses because the storms were going to hit when the buses were going to be on the road. So they kept the children. I've seen one school that did it up until 4:30 in the afternoon just to keep the kids safe. You have to know your community is going to help you keep your kids safe. That also helps with your anxiety. Now, storms are unpredictable and we cannot control them. So one of the things that we have to do is do those things that we can control. So get the right amount of rest, eat right, get a little bit of exercise. And this is just on an ongoing basis. Those types of things help you manage your anxiety. I'm going to talk about one more thing that I want you to be very aware of during a storm, especially if you have anxieties or if somebody in your family has anxieties about storms. And that is to recognize the triggers within the storms that create the most anxiety for you. For some people, it's the sound from the thunder. For other people, it's the flash of the lightning. And then for some people, it's both the thunder and the lightning. But if you recognize what your triggers are, then you know where you are going to feel and when you're going to feel the most anxiety. And if you know ahead of time when you're going to have the most anxiety, then you also know when you need to be doing something to manage that. One of the other things I do want to talk about with children, but also with adults, is find something to do with your hands. You know, they have these little soft poppers now that are super popular. Give your kids something to do with their hands while the storm is going on. Now, technology is great to distract, and you can have games on tablets and games on phones and music and those kinds of things, and that's great unless the power goes out and you're not charged up, or unless the towers go down because of the storm. So use those if they're available. But if you're looking for something to distract you, you also need to have some things available that are not technology related. You need to go old school, is what they call it. Activity books, coloring books, books you can read to your children, anything you can do to help distract yourself during the storm. Now, we haven't covered everything. I do hope that we have covered enough to help give you some ideas about how to manage your stress during a storm. One of the other things that I do want to mention to you, and I want to make sure you are aware of this, is if you have great anxiety about storms and you have real trouble managing that and you're unable to do it by yourself, we do have a 1-800 number that you can call, and if you just need to talk to somebody and talk through the anxieties that you have about storms and possible other techniques that we have to help you, all you have to do is reach out to that number and call them, and there is somebody available there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that can help you find ways to manage your anxiety. I hope this has been helpful for you. We will be sending out a second video in this series very soon. In that one, we will be talking about managing the anxiety of having been through a tornado or a severe storm. Have a great afternoon.